Now, retired Judge Nkola Motata could become the first judge in South Africa's history to be impeached. A decade ago, he was recorded on his cell phone swearing after he crashed his car into the wall of a house in Northern Johannesburg. Motata defended his use of the word boer to refer to the owner of the house, but a tribunal of the Judicial Service Commission has this week found that his comments were racist. It also says the way in which he conducted his trial was dishonest because he continued to insist he was not drunk. The findings still need to be confirmed by the Service Commission and then Parliament for him to be removed. To discuss, we're now joined by CP Fourie, spokesperson for the Judicial Service Commission from our studio in Pretoria. Thank you, Mr. Fourie. What happens next?
What happens next, good evening, is that the Judicial Service Commission must consider the recommendation and the report by the tribunal at a meeting to be determined by the Chief Justice. The meeting is still to be determined, the date thereof, but should be towards the end of May, the beginning of June. Judge Motata has been informed that he may make written representations by the 7th of May for consideration. Should the Judicial Service Commission agree that with the report of the tribunal that the judge is guilty of gross misconduct, such finding must be referred to the Speaker of the National Assembly, and the judge may then be removed from office if at least two-thirds of the members of Parliament adopts such a resolution. And the President must then remove the judge from office. Should the JSC, however, find that the judge is guilty of a degree of misconduct not amounting to gross misconduct, the Commission may impose any one or a combination of the remedial steps set out in the Judicial Service Commission Act.
Mr. Fourie, I was trying to cut in there and say it's a while to go before it gets to Parliament, but surely if the tribunal has done its work, the Judicial Service Commission will agree with the findings.
The Judicial Service Commission must consider the report of the tribunal as well as the record of the proceedings, and the Judicial Service Commission is at liberty in terms of the legislation to differ from the recommendation of the tribunal, and if they differ, I've set out the position as explained. If they agree, the matter goes to Parliament for impeachment proceedings.
He's retired already, so this is really about losing benefits. Is it worth going through this procedure?
If the judge is removed from office, the judge is not a judge anymore. Judges are appointed for life, although they may retire, but if the judge is removed from office by the President, then he's not a judge anymore, and none of the privileges will obviously then still be applicable.
Mr. Fourie, he's the first judge, we understand, facing impeachment. The grounds for that in the Constitution are incapacity, gross incompetence, gross misconduct. I have a question. Surely we have other judges who've behaved very badly. Why haven't there been more going through this procedure and ultimately facing Parliament?
This particular procedure in respect of Judge Motata has taken quite a long time. As you know, the incident already occurred in 2007. But the reason for that, by and large, was that there were several challenges, constitutional challenges, to the disciplinary processes against judges as provided for in the Judicial Service Commission Act. If the Judicial Service Commission agrees with the findings of the tribunal, then that will be the first judge that will be referred to the National Assembly for a possible removal by the National Assembly and confirmed by the President. There are other processes underway. First, matters have to be heard by a Judicial Conduct Committee. If the Judicial Conduct Committee finds that a judge might be guilty of gross incompetence or gross misconduct, then such recommendation or finding is referred to the Judicial Service Commission, and if the Judicial Service Commission agrees, then the Chief Justice is requested to establish a tribunal to hear the matter. This is what happened here. There are other processes underway, either at a tribunal stage or at a Judicial Conduct Committee stage.
Okay, so it's quite a rare occurrence. Briefly, in Motata's case, he not only got drunk and swore, but he lied thereafter. Is that what really sealed the guilty verdict, that he kept on claiming he was not drunk?
Just repeat the last part, please.
I'm saying, is that what sealed the guilty verdict, that he, according to the tribunal, insisted that he was not drunk when he knew that he was? He lied.
Well, if I heard you correctly, the findings of the tribunal are twofold. One is that there was racial conduct on the part of the judge, and the other one is that he knowingly conducted a defense which he knew lacked integrity. And on both those grounds, the tribunal is of the view that it is tantamount to gross misconduct.
Mr. Fourie, final question. Maybe it's a good time to consider. What are the duties? What do we expect from our judges?
Well, I think all our judges should be beyond reproach. They should dispense justice without fear or favor, and the public and everyone that is being served by the judiciary should have confidence in the judges, and judges must therefore conduct themselves both on the bench and off the bench in such a manner.
All right, thank you very much for your time this evening. CP Fourie from the Judicial Service Commission. And now, of course, a tribunal within the Commission has found him guilty, but it's not binding. The Judicial Service Commission still has to agree with that. Then it goes to Parliament, and we could see the first time in South Africa that a judge is impeached.